Why is the Final Fantasy VII Remake so wildly popular? Today I'm going to give you an insight into one of the mechanics which I believe makes the game very special. Now, this game mechanic has been done before. It's not a massively new thing. It is the ability to switch between characters on the fly. Now, a top class example of this would be Grand Theft Auto 5. When that came in, it was branding it as a very new idea. They were trying to describe it as an ingenious creation at the time. Final Fantasy VII has come out many, many years after Grand Theft Auto 5. Even before Grand Theft Auto 5, I'm sure this mechanic had been explored before. It was not actually a new thing, but they wanted to make it look really new. Anyway, in Final Fantasy VII, the idea of it is very cool because some enemies are weak, but they're also strong against Cloud, but then they're weak to Barret, for example, because Barret has a machine gun arm, which is pretty damn cool. But the idea of it is that you switch to Barret, and then you can use his powered up attack to weaken the enemy. Now, I think you can stay as Cloud if you want, and Barret will do the attack eventually. But to be efficient in the game, to not die, you just switch characters and do the power up attack. You get a glimpse into the strengths and weaknesses of each character, which I think is not only a very fun game mechanic, but it's also it's great for the story almost. You feel like you're part of it. You feel like you know these characters a bit better after controlling them. It sounds strange, but it's true. Imagine getting God of War, right? In God of War, you control Kratos, but you also do slightly control his son in the game. Now, imagine if you literally switch characters. It might help you understand Kratos' son in a better way. Almost, it would make you feel more connected to the story almost. Like this mechanic of being able to switch characters on the fly does make you feel like you're more connected to the story. Now, going back to Final Fantasy VII, I haven't got too deep into the game yet, but I am so looking forward to getting deeper in it. And you get a whole new set of abilities, actions, and kind of a way to fight when you switch characters. Like when you switch to Tifa, for example, you get like loads of like kind of martial arts moves. And Cloud, obviously, you got his big ass sword that is probably the most badass thing you've ever seen in gaming. You know, you kind of get a good idea what each character's kind of good at, and kind of get a good idea of like what they're about, you know. Barret, you know, he has a big-ass gun as an arm. That just reeks manliness. He's the most manly character you can ever think of, really. I mean, he's no Kratos, but he's still pretty damn cool. I'm looking forward to finding out if there are any more controllable characters in the game, because so far I've only played as Cloud, Barret, and Tifa. I wonder if the flower girl has something to do with it. I wonder if you can control Sephiroth at some point. Maybe that's in another game, I don't know. I highly doubt it because he is a villain, to be fair. Maybe there's some other characters I haven't met yet. Well, only time will tell. But I wanted this video to give you a description of why switching characters is so important. It adds such a level of depth to the game because you can control other characters, which is really cool. Instead of just being locked to the one character, which is very typical of RPGs in general. In RPGs in general, you have your character and everyone else just kind of follows you around, or you're a lone wolf, you know, you just do things yourself. So it's very cool having like a party mechanic which makes you feel like you can understand the characters better just by controlling them. But why is it just this alone which makes the Final Fantasy VII Remake a big deal? A successful hit? I don't think so. I listed out before this video reasons why this game is so damn successful and so popular. Number one, it's probably one of the highest rated Final Fantasy games of all time, which definitely helps. The graphics are immaculate. It really brings itself into the Final Fantasy realm for that reason, because the typical Final Fantasy game these days just has amazing graphics. You know, the cutscenes have always been known as having really good graphics. Playing with the graphics being this high quality really makes you feel like you're in an actual Final Fantasy game. Because some Final Fantasy games have the cutscenes are really cool, but the gameplay, when you're playing, the graphics aren't that great. But this game is like, you can't even tell when you're in a cutscene. I mean, you can, but you could be playing. You could be playing the game because the gameplay graphics are almost as good, or if not as good as the cutscene graphics. It's actually incredible. I have also started playing Final Fantasy 16, and that game is actually really awesome. I don't know how well it's reviewed, but honestly, it's got the same idea where, with the graphics in particular, where the cutscenes are indistinguishable from the gameplay. Apart from that, you can't control your character when you're in the cutscene. So graphics, it having a very good history, and finally, I think it's just the characters, you know. If you know anything about gaming and you're a big gamer, you would have heard of Sephiroth maybe, or Cloud Strife. Cloud Strife, he's got to be one of the most iconic Final Fantasy characters of all time. So I'm sure that's what is really getting on behind the scenes. People are excited because it brings Final Fantasy into the current generation. If you hadn't played that previous Final Fantasy, I promise you'd be wondering what the hell the hype is about. But I'm sure the remake and Rebirth and final, maybe the final part, I don't know. I would assume it would be a trilogy, but we get to see. But you know, with those games that have been brought out here, that it really just propels it into the current generation. And I think it's a great idea because it really gets a whole new generation excited about Final Fantasy, which is great because past 2 generations for Final Fantasy have not been that great. You know, we had Final Fantasy 13, which had a bajillion sequels and spin-offs, but it wasn't really well received, let's be honest. At least the first part wasn't. I'm not sure about the other few parts. I think Lightning Returns actually looks quite cool, and that's quite cool in itself. But I didn't want to play it until I completed Final Fantasy 13. Now I am very close to completing Final Fantasy 13. I just have not really given myself enough time to just go ahead and just finish it. Then we had 14, which is actually an MMO, which the community does seem to think is not an official Final Fantasy title because it's an MMO. I would disagree. The story is awesome. It's just I really struggle with the amount of text and dialogue and cutscenes, to be honest. There's not a massive amount of gameplay in that game, really. It's mainly story, which is good for the story, I guess, but it's not. It makes you feel like you could be doing anything else right now. But no, I'm watching some random tiny man thing, and I'm just watching them, and I'm thinking, like, well, they're saying a load of gobbledygook, basically, and I don't understand what the hell's going on. So I'm like, okay, I could be playing anything else right now. Then we had 15. 15 was interesting. It was actually very cool because when it came out, I was around my friend's house, and we were having fun, and I was basically just watching them play, and I kept falling asleep. They probably did complete the game, to be fair. But I wasn't really paying attention. I tried playing it myself, and well, that was back when I was on PC only. And let's just say my PC couldn't handle the game particularly well, and there were some issues. I will return to Final Fantasy 15 at some point because I believe that game is actually pretty awesome, and it's just a very unique spin on a Final Fantasy party trope, let's say. And then we had 16, which is, well, it's pretty damn easy, but I've seen there's a Final Fantasy mode, which you get when you finish the game. And apparently when it's Final Fantasy mode, the game is a lot more fun. It's like New Game Plus, I guess. But apparently it's a lot more fun in Final Fantasy mode. So it's a shame they didn't release Final Fantasy mode at the beginning of the game, because I definitely would have picked that option. It's not that the game's bad anyway. It's just it's just quite easy. But the graphics are amazing. The story is really cool at this point. There's a really awesome character called Cid, who's in every Final Fantasy, but this time he seems to have a big part in the game, and his voice, the voice actor for it, is so cool. I'm sure I've heard him somewhere else before, but he has this really incredibly deep husky voice, and I'm just like, wow, this is so cool. But I've got it on my PC, but I kind of want to get it on the PlayStation now because my PC is good, but I honestly think that console games are not designed to be played on PC. And also, I have a big problem with gaming on PC in general. I feel like it's overpriced. It costs way too much to actually just get a game going. And the thing is, when you think about the developers for the games, when they're making a game for the PC, they're probably making it with a very specific build in mind. There are so many different types of builds you can have as a PC gamer. that 9 times out of 10, your build will not be the one that they were aiming at. So then you're probably going to have a load of technical issues when starting up the game. You're going to have to tinker with your graphics settings to make it perfect. You know, there's just so many obstacles to get past. It could take you hours. It could take you an hour or two, maybe even longer, to perfect the game. Make it actually what the game designers intended. But how are you meant to know? Who knows? How are you ever meant to know what they're meant to intend in? But when you're on the console, you know, you just put the disc in or download it, and there you have it. You have the game that they intended you to play in the exact way that they intended to play, and there's no technical hiccups. No, it's just how it's meant to be. I think it's a much more simple approach, and now these days with Amazon, I really don't think that price is that bad actually. Like maybe like a month or two after a game comes out on Amazon, they're probably about 20 or 30 quid, which is, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's probably very similar to the price you pay on a PC anyway for a game. And also, you're getting the games as soon as they come out on console, you know, when they're fresh in everyone's mind. But PC, normally you have to wait a year or two for them to bring out the PC port. And then, as I said, even when the PC port gets you, sometimes the port is just complete trash. So I think the console games should just play them on console. It's the easiest way. And specific PC titles, I'd say, the ones which are really actually very good on PC and they're designed for any PC, are like these RTS games, these kind of like simulation games, these grand strategy games. These games are designed for PC, and because you can tell it works really well with mouse and keyboard. So I'm going to cut this video short because I don't want this video to be all about PC versus console. But you know, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.